Hi, my name is Olga Vargas, and I'm going to talk about individual in society. In solving today's multiple problems in society, there are many steps to fixing today's problems. One of the ways we could look at fixing things is to look at the individuals because society is made up of individuals. It is important that we do not lose our identity as we seek to fix what problems we have in our society. Although we have part of a bigger society and community, a city, a country, or whatnot, we tend to lose ourselves as we look at the whole. But yet, it is important that we recognize that each and every one of us plays a role in how we affect our community. In my opinion, the role of the individual in helping to solve some of the problems mentioned in my paragraph this week has to do with personal responsibility. There are a lot of people who believe that because somebody's poor or because somebody comes from a background that is not so embraceable, that they are either lazy or do not want to work or just not want to be part of our society. This is not true. There are many social aspects that go along with being in poverty and being out of work. There are such things as opportunities that are not presented to as individuals. There is a primary identification and secondary identification, which means that primary identification is when somebody identifies a person that says as a gang member. A young child who is growing up in a gang environment may be exposed to gang activity. Somebody may say there might goes a young gang member in the making. That goes a primary identification when the young person then identifies with that personality, with that trait becomes a secondary identification, which means embraces the identification that he or she embraces that identification, then becomes to act as a gang member. In other words, if I'm going to be called a gang member, I might as well act like a gang member. That is a primary and secondary identification that then leads to act like a gang member. Pretty soon they could cut up in a vicious cycle of violence and drugs and gang activity. We are more likely to solve the problem of society if we embrace a sense of common purpose and focus on the individual and a spirit, and not on the collective good. If each person takes responsibility for their actions, for them they become responsible, and then they could become responsible and act together in order to have a better society, I think we are most likely to embrace and more likely to solve our problems if we could all work together as individuals in helping the whole. This does not mean that we forget about the whole in particular, because that is part of our society. I believe that this point of view accounts for different points of view. And I explain this by saying that just because I come from a certain background or just because I come from a certain area or whatnot, it does not mean that I cannot educate myself into knowing how another person grew up. This has to do with multicultural differences. Just because my culture differences from another culture difference doesn't make mine either better or worse than theirs. Neither does it make theirs better or worse than mine. This is just simple of difference of opinion and differences on how we were brought up. It doesn't mean that I cannot educate myself into believing or knowing how the person was raised. And that person can then learn how I was raised, and then we could come together and learn about both of us. There must be a value between the individual responsible for what we do, and the public spirit, meaning that I cannot as an individual isolate myself and then expect to be accepted in the society as a bigger part of that picture. I cannot sit in my house or room by myself expecting the world to roll around me. I have to get out and I understand what my neighbors are thinking. How are they feeling? How they look at things? How they solve problems? How they take care of things? How they achieve their success above failures? What makes them happy or sad or what not? I know that it's common today to speak about families, communities, and our nations as being common as we all share the same ideas. But we do not all share the same ideas. We're individuals at the core, so we must be able to learn one another and to work together in solving society's problems. When we look at things, rising unemployment, political violence, poverty, and looming economical disasters, all this starts by the individuals. This is by somebody or somewhere living our lives and trying to have a better life or not to have a better life. It's unfortunate that there's people out there that do not want a better life. They're simple, satisfied with the status quo. I believe as individuals we need to take responsibility for our actions and place that in a broader scope. Hillary Clinton wrote a book, and in the book she mentions that African communities, the villages, are usually responsible for raising children and teaching them from right and wrong, what is socially acceptable and what is not. I think this is very important. This is something that we have that we lost track in America. We all say that we're Americans. As Americans, we just allowed everybody to go their own ways and to do their own thing. I believe that it's really important that we understand studies like the ACE study. The ACE study was conducted between 1995 and 1997. In that study, we found that adverse childhood experiences affected children in different ways as they grew up. Those experiences then related as adults work themselves into society. I believe that it's important that we found values between individuals' responsibility and what is good for the common purposes of society. I believe that we should embrace the common purpose and the public spirits and focus on the collective good, but we could only go as far as individuals, whether you're part of one or a group or another, or for or not. It all starts with the individual. That's my opinion. Thank you.